What's up, guys? We are back with another Power Rangers review from Super7, taking a look at the latest in reaction. We're talking Power Rangers Wave 3. Now, when it came to Wave 1, I got so excited that I went full Ranger cosplay and dressed up in one of my suits. Now, I've done it once, you're not going to get it again, but I am still very excited to take a look at these guys because there's a lot of cool stuff in this wave. However, it has made me realize that I completely missed Wave 2, so I'm going to have to go back and correct that. So we're going to take a look at 6 figures in Wave 3 today. So to start with, we have got Squatt. We have got the Yellow Ranger, which I believe she's coming soon. She's not out yet. She's not in the assortment, but she's on the card back. So we've got Squatt, we've got our Yellow Ranger, we've got Rito Revolto, because, you know, somehow this guy is a witch's brother, right? We've got another Ranger, we've got Billy, we've got our Blue Ranger. We've got Babu, because of course we have Squatt. You have to have Babu, right? And each wave so far has gotten an oversized figure in the form of a Megazord. So today we've got the Dragonzord battle mode, and this thing also comes on a super-sized card back. This thing's super hefty too. There's a lot of figure here. Now, these guys all come on the same kind of card back, so you've got that sort of green motif with the Rangers logo. You've got, of course, the figure there in the big window, and then you've got some artwork of the figure in particular on the front. The back on these looks pretty fantastic, though. We've got cross-sell for waves 1, 2, and 3, and then you've got the command center kind of in shadow back there with typical Power Rangers lightning all over it. So really great presentation. I love these card backs. Of course, you know, they're going to get trashed here a little bit. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Super7 Wave 3 Power Rangers reaction figures. And again, in this particular line, we're kind of running the gamut of what we're getting in a wave. So we're not getting all Rangers at once. You know, they've been spread across various waves. So we do get 2 more Rangers this time around. We get Blue, we get Yellow, MMPR, and we get Squatt and Babu, so 2 core villains from Rita's group. We get Rito from later on in MMPR, and then we get a new version of a Zord. So we get the Battle Mode Dragonzord, not to be confused with the Mega Dragonzord. They are not the same thing. So let's see what's going on here, see what these guys can do. I'm going to start with the Rangers first, because frankly, they're the least impressive when it comes to this wave, and that's not a knock on them in particular. Just look at everything else that we have. So as far as the Rangers go in this line, they're essentially your normal standard reaction. You can't get much more basic than this, because they are literally very smooth-bodied, very low-texture kind of figures. So let's move our Yellow back, and we've got, you know, as far as articulation, we're going to run through it real quick. You've got a swiveling head, you've got swiveling arms, and you've got swiveling legs. See, that wasn't too difficult. So, you know, it's standard reaction. So you've got your head, your arms, and your legs. Standard Kenner tribute style of figures, and I think they work pretty well here. And I was really happy with these guys when it came to Wave 1. Again, I don't have Wave 2, so I still don't have the full team, but it's cool to get more Rangers just to knock them out. And of course, these are similar figures. You know, Billy is not exactly the same figure as Trini here, and vice versa. Of course, you know, she's more in line with Kimberly, and he's more in line with the guys, but they are still very much the same kind of figure. So you've got your Telltale suit with the diamond patterning, and just like with Wave 1, these were really clean, really crisp. I don't have any issues in terms of like splotchiness when it comes to that. All of the diamond patterning is nicely done. We don't have a lot of detail on the morphers per se. You do have the color patterning, so you've got, you know, the actual gold for the coin, the red, the black, and the silver, but you don't have any sculpt or any detail for what's actually on that coin. Granted, at this scale, not too surprising. What I do really like about these guys, though, is the color in general. It's very bright, very vibrant, and the head sculpts. And that's where the uniqueness outside of color for a Ranger comes through. And I think they've got these down pretty nicely. You know, at this size, at this scale, they do look good. You can definitely tell that this is a Triceratops, this is a saber-toothed tiger. Colors, again, very clean and crisp. A little bit of piping on the helmets as well, as far as that metallic. And, you know, the metallic in particular is really nicely done. It does stand out, and it is very, well, metallic. So you've got that going for it. These guys do, of course, include their signature weapons. So you get Billy's, you know, power lance here. It does not separate, so you just got the lance, which is fine. That's how I would always use it anyway. A lot of that metallic on here as well. So very much in line with what we see on the figure itself. And then for Trini, we've got the daggers, again, with more of that silver metallic, so kind of just meshes with the metallic on the helmet. These guys do, however, come with a little bit more. So they come with a little bit extra. Not extra in the sense that it's extra for them, but just they get more stuff. So each of the Rangers also get blade blasters. So you get the gun mode and you get the holstered mode. We don't get the actual blade mode, but you get the two, you know, this is your standard one for when they're just holding it. This is the one when they're actually going to use it. What's really interesting, I kind of pointed this out in the first Waves review, you know, way back, this will fit in a Lightning Collection holster, and you know most of those don't come with you know sort of sheathed blade blasters, so you've got that option there when it comes to using these guys. They don't have any storage on them themselves though, so they don't have a holster or anything. So you're either going to use them or stow them away. But I'm always happy to get at least a few little extras when it comes to ReAction, because accessory count tends to be, you know, just 1 and 2, but these guys have 3 and 4. Now with these two, we kind of get into the thick of it with this wave, because the monsters, the bad guys, the Zords, all that kind of stuff just lends itself to being a little bit more exciting. The Rangers are great, don't get me wrong, but these guys are far more unique, and they just have a lot more going for them, and kind of the wow factor, and just being a little bit more engaging in many ways as ReAction figures, because they tend to skew different, and they have different sizes and shapes, and they're very weird in some of their construction. You know, Squatt in particular is a very different kind of figure. He's still 5 POA. You know, there's nothing different here about how he's really put together. He's still got swiveling legs. He's still got swiveling arms. His head really only shimmies back and forth, but he's still the same kind of figure. Where he's really different is just the overall build, because he's so, well, squatty, and he's fat, and he's rotund, but I think he looks fantastic. He translates really, really well into this format. Colors, super bright and vibrant. The metallic silver all over him absolutely pops. You know, this big thing coming out of the head, or out of the helmet, looks really great. All of the patterning is very clean and crisp for his pants and for his sleeves. Tons of little sculpted details all over the place. You know, his asymmetrical pauldrons, things like that. He's got his little gun here, which, you know, I can't remember this being used all that much, but he's got it, and I do like that. Just gives him something to hold, because Babu, conversely, does not have any accessories, which, you know, unsurprisingly isn't too weird here. But these guys look great together too, and it's nice to be able to get them again, kind of just all in one go. Get them out, get them done. Have these two that are always together, have them together. And Babu in particular does look really good. So where he doesn't have an accessory, he does maybe have a little bit more intricate sculpt, because his body is absolutely covered in sculpted detail. You know, he's got things like the little launcher on his wrist here that, you know, maybe you don't even remember being there. You've got things like the wings, or whatever these things are supposed to be. They do articulate, so they flap in and out, and then they do rotate a little bit here. So you've got a little bit of extra articulation there. It's not functional, but it does work. You know, it does do what it's supposed to do. It's just not going to pose him or anything specifically. He's got standard 5 POA beyond that though, but there's a lot of wash all over his body, so it makes the suit, you know, I keep saying the suit, it makes what he's supposed to be made out of, makes it look pretty dirty, which is very close to what the show always was. Everything had a bit of grime on it, especially in Sentai. You know, when you're looking at it from that angle, everything had a bit of grime on it. And I really like the way this guy is washed out, so he looks a little faded in certain areas, but darker in others. And the blue on both of these really pop, because they definitely match. The face sculpt up here, though, is pretty tremendous. The eyepiece looks great. All of like the watches and everything all over him look fantastic as well. So these guys, you know, maybe like some sleeper hits when it comes to this wave, because they have a lot to offer, especially if you've already got, you know, some of the core bad guys up until now. You're essentially getting complete in many ways, or getting close to complete when it comes to just rounding out Rita's crew, thanks to having these two guys. Now the star of the wave might just happen to be this guy, though. I'm not saving him for last, because we've got a really big figure to talk about last, but Rito is... This guy's pretty wild. Like, all I want now is to see this guy in Ultimates after getting the ReAction figure, because this thing is absolutely ridiculous. There's so much detail on him, you know, and it's not just a Power Ranger-y figure too. Like, I could see somebody who just wants a weird half camo skull guy wanting this figure, because not only is he a little bit larger, there's a ton of paint on this figure. You know, even on the side that isn't painted in camo, it's covered in a wash, and there's a lot of black to fill out the skulls, so even these little details aren't left unpainted. I do really like that. Can't not focus on the fact that the sculpt is absolutely through the roof on this guy too, because he is literally a skeleton made up of other skeletons. So yeah, I mean, he's just got a crazy design. I do love, in particular, though, his actual skull. I think it's really well done. Sculpt is pretty fantastic here. Not to mention the fact that he has, well, we lost his gun there. He has skeleton-based weaponry, so he has a bone machine gun, or bone rifle, because that makes sense, right? Of course it does. It was... In the Sentai world, anything makes sense, so it works just fine. And we've got a bone sword. So I think these are fantastic. I mean, again, after getting this, I can't wait to see what this guy looks like in hand in Ultimates. Like, it's going to be wild when we finally get that. But there's just so much stuff going on here. Again, he is a skeleton man made up of other skeletons and bones and just different parts of skeletons. And I think it looks tremendous. The back of his helmet, another skeleton. Skeletons on his arms, skeletons on his legs, skeletons on his crotch. The entire chest is another weird big skeleton kind of thing. So just tons and tons of skulls and paint and sculpt oozing out of this guy. Like, he looks tremendous. It's crazy how much detail was packed into such a tiny figure. So there's very little doubt in my mind that this is probably going to be the main attraction when it comes to this wave, because he's so unique for this kind of line. And then last but not least, of course, we get our oversized figure in the wave, because that's kind of the trend so far. We got the Megazord in Wave 1, Dragonzord was in Wave 2, and the Battle Mode Dragonzord is in Wave 3. Now, again, this is not the Mega Dragonzord. That's the one where the Dragonzord sits on top of the Megazord. So this is very different. This is the Dragonzord using the Mastodon, the Saber-Toothed Tiger, and the Triceratops Zord. So you've got the arms of the Megazord, basically, and then you've got the legs, with the Dragonzord all broken up, and the chest, and then of course the tail turning into the weapon along with the chest crest thing that it has. So this is a pretty cool version of the Dragonzord. Like, I really like this one because it's very Megazord-y, but it's also got all of the hallmarks of the Dragonzord, but it also is very clearly using other stuff. So you've got your Triceratops, you've got your Saber-Toothed Tiger down here, you've got the very clearly Megazord arms with the M's on the shoulder. But there's all this Dragonzord stuff along with it, and they work pretty nicely, all things considered. I do love the chest crest paint there is really clean and crisp. All that sort of, it's not super bright gold. I kind of wish the gold was a little bit more gold, a little bit more metallic in some ways, but it looks pretty nice. It does have a little bit of a shine to it. And then you've got all that green with the inlay detail on there. The feet that are now sort of the thigh area for the Dragonzord look really nice also. That green pops against that silver really well. And then of course you've got the head here that sits inside of the Dragonzord's head, which is basically like wearing like Terminator shades or some crazy nonsense. So he looks like a no-nonsense kind of Zord. The fin, really nicely done. More of that metallic silver that we've seen throughout some of the other figures in this wave, with more of this sculpt. And the actual detailing on the fin here is sculpt. It's not just paint, so it's sculpt with paint applied over top of it. And then we've got the big weapon here, which I always thought was kind of a weird weapon because, of course, it has kind of like a stand almost to it, but it doesn't reach the ground. But it does look cool and combines two very big aspects of the Dragonzord, the actual crest for the chest and the tail spike too, which again has more of that silver metallic plastic, or paint rather, that does look really nice. Like, it's very, very shiny, very, very lustrous. I kind of wish this gold had a little bit more shine to it like that. But otherwise, this guy does look pretty cool. And one thing, again, that I have to stress is the size factor with this. So this guy is a little bit more expensive. He's a few dollars more, but it's almost the same size as like a Lightning Collection figure. In terms of regular non-reaction figures, just for size comparison, here he is with a Lightning Collection Red Ranger. So you can see he's not exactly, and it doesn't scale or anything like that, but it's a big figure, and it's incredibly heavy too, because these things are really, really solid. They're 100% chunky, solid robot figures, so there is a lot of weight to him. He does have pretty much the same articulation as everything else, minus the head, because of course the head is actually sitting inside of a socket on with the Dragonzord head, so it doesn't spin, it doesn't have any movement there, but your arms swivel and your legs can move a little bit. But he's essentially, I mean, this guy is essentially always going to be like this, most likely, on your shelf. He's always going to look like that, so he doesn't really need to move as much as any others, I suppose. It's all about the look, and it's all about the size. So he's going to be in line with the Megazord and the Dragonzord, and he's going to be a really big presence on any kind of reaction shelf, just because of the fact, I mean, he's a big hunkin' beefy boy. This thing weighs a ton and commands a bit of shelf presence just because of what it is. So yeah, overall, guys, this is a pretty solid wave of figures. Like, these are a lot of fun. The Rangers are, surprisingly, in many ways, the least exciting aspect of this line, just because these designs for the monsters do manage to translate into reaction really well. There's something about reaction style figures that are very non-reaction, if that makes any sense, that works when it comes to this line. You know, stuff like Pudgy Pig in Wave 1, Rito, Squatt, Babu here, they're all very, very 5 POA, but they're all very different. And then, of course, you get these oversized, chunky robot, you know, Zord figures that are just incredibly different from anything like a reaction figure we usually know. They're very unique in reaction in general, and I think they look awesome. Like, the size, the heft of those things alone is just something a little bit different, worth the price of admission. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super 7 Reaction Power Rangers Wave 3. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.